Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you are a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, you can reach out to me on Instagram at TravisCanListen. You can find me on Facebook at I'm a Fan of, and you can reach out to me through the website at imafanofpod.com. This episode, fantastic comic, someone who I've enjoyed watching for years and years and years. He is intelligent, quirky. He always takes you into a joke one way and then gives you that sweet, sweet left turn when you didn't quite know where it was going. The best way to see that is he has recently released a new stand-up video. I don't know if we call them specials anymore. I don't know what we call them, but my guest today is Vinnie Corrales, and he has released An Evening at the Improv. If you're familiar with my show, you know we've had him on here previously when he also released another album, Rebel Without Applause. Both of them absolutely great. What was really fun about Rebel Without Applause is I think you just set down an iPhone. It has all sorts of just, technical difficulties with the audio. It sounds like maybe somebody bumped the phone or it cuts out here and there. But I thought it was just this really great example of, a guy who's just going to get something recorded no matter what. And it feels like you're in the room. I think he did that one at Backdoor Comedy Club, which has always got a special place in my heart. So go listen to that first one. It's great. It's kind of this very DIY, and it's audio only, by the way, audio only. An Evening at the Improv, which is what he just released, is audio and video, much more polished, very cool. So you get two totally different sides of this guy in terms of production. And I don't think the comedy suffers on either one. I think they're both great. And I think definitely, absolutely go check him out. He's a hilarious, hilarious stand-up comic. Let's stop talking about it right here. Let's go ahead and get into the interview. This is Vinnie Corrales.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Welcome back to the show, Vinnie Corrales, formerly TV Corrales, now just Vinnie Corrales.
FKA TV.
What happened there?
I pissed off my father-in-law really bad, and he said he was going to kill TV Corrales the next time he saw him. And he's a former Black Panther, and when a Black Panther threatens your life, you usually take that kind of serious.
Yeah. By the way, nice segue right into your new comedy thing, talking about your father-in-law being an ex-Black Panther.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bit. That's just...
No, it's not a bit, but it was brought up, and I was like, holy shit.
He's a very volatile guy.
I just rewatched that scene from Forrest Gump where he beat up the guy in the Black Panther party.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me start doing all this. Dude, first of all, it's weird how the universe works because I don't know what made me look up that scene, but I looked that up, and then I just started doing a deep dive on the Black Panther party to understand more about it.
Yeah.
And then I watched your thing, and I'm like, Black Panther.
Scott Crisp has a great Forrest Gump bit.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
Brings that up. I mean, that's my favorite bit in the city right now. He's a really good writer.
Yeah. The research I was doing on the Black Panther party was like, they're known for their violence, but they're primarily just a political party. And I was like, interesting. And it just made me think about, like, wouldn't you love to go back in time and experience the Black Panthers in the moment to see what you feel like it is versus what it was written about?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think I would be welcome there. Yeah.
Well, who wrote this shit, right? Like, who's writing this right now? Do I trust your opinion? But so it's really what I'm asking is, can I sit down with your father-in-law sometime and talk to him about it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not welcome back. We haven't spoken in over a year.
Y'all are that? What?
I mean, we have police out there to escort us to get our stuff. We were living with them at the time.
What?
And
dude, you are so... What could have gone wrong that happened with you two? Because you don't seem like the type of guy to get very riled up. But I don't know you horribly well, so... I'm
not the type of guy to get riled up.
Okay.
But this guy is he's like undiagnosed bipolar.
Yeah.
He's like, admits that all the women in his family have bipolar, but somehow it skipped him. And just to give you a little backstory of this guy's psyche, he's like in his mid-50s, right? This was last summer that he decided his neighbor, they live out in Cedar Hill, his neighbor, the dog was barking. They had a pit bull that was barking in the yard next door a lot. And the dad got so frustrated with it that he decided he was going to climb over the fence with a baseball bat and kill this pit bull.
Oh, my God.
And so he's like straddling the fence, and this guy in his mid-50s, right? This black dude in his mid-50s with this baseball bat, this pit bull jumps up, latches onto his foot, and like shreds it to the bone. And Yeah, so there were a few like red flags that I was willing to overlook when we moved in.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
like the first time that we met him, we were at a grocery store and he like was driving his Camaro, and this guy came out and he was like, "Hey man, nice car," and he was like, it was like, "Motherfucker, keep on walking, get the fuck away from me."
Over a compliment? Oh my god,
dude, he's like New York, you know. He's
dude. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that y'all had a falling out like that.
yeah. So
Are y'all like? You think you're close to patching it back up yet?
I have no interest in patching it up. No, I mean, I'm sure
I've got a couple family members like that where I've had to like just very strongly say I don't think this will ever be a thing, you know.
Yeah,
But none of them were like my wife's relatives, so
that's what makes it a little more nuanced because it's just like I don't have any animosity anymore. It's just like I just don't trust him, you know, and I just have a lot of reasons not to trust him. So,
dang.
but yeah, the reason that all that happened.
By the way, I'm not going to get you in trouble with your wife here. Am I talking about this?
No, actually, this is going to be kind of part of I'm doing a storytelling show at the Texas Theater on December 2nd. And this is all kind of part of it.
I just want to make sure you're not like, hey, man, we put that episode out and she left me. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want anything like that.
No, it's nothing like
okay,
that.
all right.
It's nothing like that. She was there. She was.
Yeah.
She's well aware of what happened. So last October, I was doing a show out in San Antonio. It was my first time working the club out in San Antonio. And I was going to go down, and it was me, my wife, and we had our bulldog in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a normal road trip. And I used to live in San Antonio for a year. I have family still out in San Antonio. We were going to stay with my cousin, you know, go do some comedy, hang out there. So we make our way to San Antonio. We get there, open up the hatchback, and the dog's having a tough time breathing. He's really like huffing and puffing. I like pick her up and put her on the driveway. She kind of like rolls down the driveway. I'm like, oh, this is not good. So she's like, her muscles just were not working. We take her inside my cousin's house. Her tongue's turning purple. I'm like, gosh, she's not getting any oxygen to the brain. You know, I'm there like giving her like mouth to mouth. You know, my wife's giving her like chest compressions, and she makes it maybe like 10 minutes in my cousin's house, and then she dies. And
by the way, that was the most heartbroken I've ever been over a dog that I'd never met your dog. But I'd seen your dog so much on Instagram that I was like,
she was
like I knew this dog, man.
We got a lot of love poured after that.
Yeah.
She made a lot of people smile. So so I made a decision. I was like, well, I can't. And I looked at my watch. I'm like, you know, the show starts in like 20 minutes. I can't go do comedy right now. Like I got this dead dog in my cousin's house. My wife is here in shambles. Like I can't just go sort of like call and cancel. And, you know, it was, you know, I was like, hey, you're not going to believe this. My dog died. And they're like, oh yeah, dead dog. Right. Yeah, you know, heard that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'll probably never be working that club again. But I had to do what I had to do. So I went to HEB, got a cooler, basically converted my hatchback into a hearse, and made an executive decision. It was like, we're going to go to Houston. We're going to go bury her at my parents' house. My parents have never moved. They've been in the same house, you know, my whole life. They all our family pets are buried there. So it wasn't even a question in my mind. So we drive down there, and it was, I guess, unfortunate for my father-in-law, who felt like we should have went and buried her at their house.
Oh.
And he was so upset and offended by it that, like, he kicked us out. Like,
Did he have any relationship with the dog? Did he get the dog for you guys or anything? Nothing like that?
No, he liked the dog. I mean, but
Yeah.
we were living there for a couple months. We were going to live there, and we were trying to save money for a house ultimately. And I thought we were all on the same page about, you know. And, so he was very, very offended. And
Did he say why though?
I mean, that was why it was just like, this is a pattern of disrespect, and this is just, I mean.
So he felt like this was on top of some other stuff that had already happened.
Yeah, but it's like the other stuff that had already happened was stuff like me like getting home, and Cedar Hill is like out there. I'm like teaching, and I'll get home at like, or over there like 7:45, and I'd want to like just go upstairs and like decompress for like 15 minutes before I come downstairs. And he was really offended that I wouldn't come in and go to see him in the backyard and be like, "Hey, Ed, good to see you, you son of a bitch. You're looking good out there with a cigar." So ultimately, he just wanted more attention than I could give him. And I thought we were on the same page about that too, because he said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about like, coming in and saying hi to me, like all this on the first day."
Yeah, he was saying that, but he was hoping you would, right?
Yeah,
he wanted you to.
Yeah, so
he wanted you to be like, "What's up, son of a bitch? How was your day?" Like, is he working still?
He works like from home basically. Yeah.
Oh, so that's part of it too, then, right? He's not getting out and like going to work and socializing much, is he?
He's not a social guy. He's not. He doesn't even want to socialize.
Yeah, but I think even antisocial people like being around people just so they can be like, "I can't wait to get away from these people."
I guess so. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
think some people like having like my father-in-law, great guy. I don't have any complaints. Like he really doesn't like his job that much. He's been there for like 20, 25 years or something, right? But I think he would still miss it. Like as much as he bitches about going to work at that place.
Right.
Like I think if he won the lotto, he would absolutely quit the job, but he'd probably like swing by every now and then and like catch up with people.
Yeah.
Like even the people he doesn't like that much. Like I think people want to be around other people a little bit. So,
yeah, my dad said like when he retires, he's gonna go like work at Home Depot or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
I think
it defeats the whole purpose of.
If it's not Home Depot, it's like do something. Like I don't know. I mean, that's part of the reason I like doing this type of stuff is I always want a hobby of some kind.
Right.
I need something to be interested in so that I don't feel like I have to go back to work. Because if I quit working right now, it's like there are tons of things I could go do that would still be around other people. But I think a lot of people get so obsessed with work, especially the generation we're talking about, right? Like 50, 60-year-olds right now, they're from that generation where like work is life. I'm going to do 20, 30 years with the company. And so I don't think they get that many hobbies. I think we're the first generation of like people that are getting into their 30s and 40s where it's like, no, dude, we do kickball on the weekends. Like, those guys would never do shit like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
that's strange, though. So he got upset about the dog, and that was it, huh?
That was it. Yeah, we came home it was like a Columbus Day, I guess, and got there on that Monday, and all of our stuff was there in the foyer.
Shit.
And he was like fuming too.
That sucks.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, so, and the part that was the most upsetting is like, I didn't even get a chance to like grieve really, because like as soon as it happened, now I'm like, we're effectively homeless. So we got to like try to scramble and sort of thing. So yeah, I couldn't even like, it was a mess. So.
Were you able to? Because y'all were there to save up money for a house.
Yeah.
Were you able to get a house yet?
Hell no.
No. So now you're back.
Stayed there for like 2 months.
Back in an apartment then, right?
I saved like $1,000.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is.
How are you going to try to save money now? I don't know how anybody buys a home right now, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just hoping Mr. Beast will like help me out or something. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, that's wild, man. I don't have any family members quite like that. The ones that I can't deal with anymore are like, we have some really, really, really extreme political thinkers in our family. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And they like just, with like we cut one person off in particular through the pandemic because there was just so much, like they were faking previous health conditions so that they could go to like Chipotle and argue about whether or not they should wear a mask. And this was like early on when we didn't really quite understand what was going on with the pandemic yet, right?
Right.
And my wife and I, we're very much like, look, if this thing is a bunch of bullshit and we were conned into wearing masks, okay, egg on my face, I wore a mask like everyone else for a while, right? But if they're correct and I don't wear a mask and we end up in the ICU from this, it's like, that sounds far worse than just looking like a dumbass who wore a mask, right?
Yeah.
That's my risk reward thing. And, to this person in the family, they were like, they would go cause a scene at, Chiloso or something.
Yeah, just to be a thorn in the side.
And then it would all be like, typing on, Facebook, like telling their story of their heroic, I battled the manager, and
well, these people have never faced real oppression.
No,
that was the thing. That was they wanted to feel oppressed
and then
somehow.
that turned into like we had our ground rules because at that time our son was born in February 2020. So we've got a newborn that family members want to come see,
right?
And we had a ton of family members who were willing to like wear a mask and like meet us in the front yard, keep some distance, wave, whatever. And then this family member and some other ones were like, well, why do I need a mask? And we're like, well, there's this COVID thing going around. And they were like, well, I don't have COVID. Do you have COVID? And I was like, the whole thing is we're still not sure who does and doesn't right now. It's like, this is all brand new. This is the first pandemic I've gone through in my life. It's a newborn baby. If he gets this virus, we don't know what the latent effects might be 20 years from now. And it's like, if this virus makes his dick fall off when he's 15, like, we don't want to be the cause of that. We're just trying to make him, like, can we just be safe? It's a baby. And that turned into like, look, it's our fucking kid. Here's our rules. And then that got out of hand. They didn't like that. They felt like we were talking down to them and all this. And we were like, this is our kid. These are our rules. And then that just turned into like, look, we never really fucking liked you that much anyway. So like, how about you don't come over, you don't call, we'll call you. And like, let's just stop the whole, how you're pretending to have common ground to keep the peace. And then you realize it's different because it's your father-in-law. But then you realize it's like, I don't actually need you in my life. Like, I don't bring any value to your life. You don't bring any value to my life. It's probably okay for us to not like pretend like this matters.
Yeah.
Like it's probably going to be healthier for both of us.
Yeah, they have that inner peace.
Yeah,
for both parts. Now this guy's not feeling constantly rejected, and it's,
and it's like.
So did he respect that, or?
I mean, he accepted it. I don't know what he feels about it.
Who gives a shit? Yeah.
I mean, if immediately when I did it, because before that phone call, I was like, oh man, am I really about to do this? And I was like, this is it's going to make family stuff worse, And the moment I hung up the phone, it was like a weight off my shoulders. I was like, no, I think I've been waiting to do that for years, and I feel better. Because I wasn't like, you're a piece of shit, I hope you die.
Are you a confrontational guy? Are you like...
I can be. I've been working more and more. Like, I used to get into pointless confrontation, like you're trying to win an argument and there's no winning, it's just not going to happen. And now I really try to pick my battles because, like, most people don't want to do this, right? So most people don't want to be in that situation. So, and so now I've gotten to the point where it's like, I think that's why I like Bill Burr so much. I really line up with his younger years of anger.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of cathartic.
It is. Like hearing him rant and rave, it was almost like he was doing it on my behalf about some of these issues, right?
Right.
And then you realize like, oh, there's other people. And now after years of like listening to his podcast and hearing him be like, yeah, I went to therapy for this shit. Like it's not healthy, And then that's kind of been my form of like, okay. When you get upset, it's like, stay in your car for one more second if you had like a little road rage moment, like you didn't do anything, but you're frustrated. And then it's like, just get that out of your system before you open the door and get out. Right?
I feel like a lot of that, like it's not like the with the therapist stuff. Like it'll vary. Like if you go there and you're talking about all these confrontations that you're getting into, and they're like, that's not healthy. They want you to scale back. But if you're like, go there and you're the other way, and you're like, I don't get in confrontations. I feel like people walk all over me. They're like, you need to be more confrontational. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, that's the thing that you said this person doesn't need to be anymore.
You
do therapy? Are you in therapy?
No, and I think therapy is very healthy for people, but I'm still I'm not skeptical of therapy. I'm skeptical of how do you find a good therapist.
Oh, I'm the same way, dude. I did therapy once.
I'm skeptical of like, who's this person and how do you research credentials on therapy, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you get to watch previous cases of people to go like, wow, they really help these people, and I have a similar issue. They seem to be good with people who have anger management issues. I'll go talk to that person because they're also just a person who's flawed as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's really tricky, I think. I think I'd be open to it if I could find a way to say, this is how you find a great therapist,
I had to go to therapy like last year, a year and a half ago maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I I was just having a lot of. It was back when I lived with LaRon.
Oh yeah, LaRon Wright.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's part of that bit actually. It's that's what happened. When I got held at gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I had to end up had a lot of sleepless nights and had to go to therapy, and I had to find a therapist, and that was my whole thing. Is I was like,
So it's therapy for like a PTSD thing going on with you?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because I was like, oh, these people must live here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I was just on edge all the time, and just and then I was also thinking what if I would have successfully, because I almost had control of the gun whenever I was fighting that guy. So I was like, if I had that gun, I would have killed 2 people that night.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of those kind of thoughts going in. So I found this therapist that he was a Korean War vet. So he's an old guy, and he's he was a Marine. He's a real badass.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in there and I tell him everything that's going on, and I say, listen, I just feel like a bitch right now because, why would I feel like that? You were in a war, you probably saw your friends get killed. You probably killed somebody at some point. There's no telling the traumatic things you've kind of experienced, and you seem well adjusted. Why would I feel the way I do with something so insignificant compared to a war or something? And then he stopped me and he was like, no. The difference is I signed up for that. This happened at your house, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You should feel more traumatized, actually, because that's a place where you expect to be safe and expect to be, it's your domain, and that was violated. So in a lot of ways, you should be more traumatized than I would be for something I knew what I was getting myself into. So he told me that, and then I never went back. I was like, oh, I guess I'm fixed now. That was all I needed.
Yeah, that would, and that's refreshing to hear too, because my other thought that's very cynical about therapy is, how long will these sessions go on, right? Because this is your income. The more I come and talk to you. And so knowing that, you have someone who has good ethics as well, to be the goal is to get you as few sessions as possible. We want to get you in and out, right? And then it takes as long as it takes, but that's the goal.
Yeah. Just do acid.
Yeah.
Just
we talked about that last time you were on, and I'm not at a career point where I can do those types of things yet. But that is definitely, the more I listen to Joe Rogan, he just had Neil Brennan on, and they were talking about, I think he has been on this big ayahuasca journey lately, but it's been just, he has a little bit of neurotic tendencies as well, and he was talking about this stuff just calming down. And what's very interesting is he talks about, he is someone who was a outspoken atheist or agnostic or whatever, but he's after all of this, he's I have now seen God. We're not saying any particular religion or what God is. He's but that's a thing now, and it exists. It's all right, really interesting. So
wow.
I'm very open to all these. My friend Tony is probably going to be the one to take me out to the desert and do mushrooms, because he's really familiar with the Big Bend area and all that. And
oh yeah,
he'd be a great. Not only a great travel guide, but he's just got a fantastic personality that would be, that's the person you want to be around for this,
Yeah.
He's just an all-around, genuinely nice guy.
Setting, those are the important things.
Yeah, because I know how I think. I'm not going to be that person who, well, from what I've heard, the people who try to hang on or fight it or control, that's where it goes negative.
Uh-huh.
And that's my tendency. I'm always going to want to be in control of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're there to do, is learn to go, nope, you're in control of nothing.
I think there's value in bad trips, though. I think I actually gain more from a bad trip than a good trip.
Yeah.
Because you're oh, I can overcome that mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a place mentally where you're what is going on? This is not. But then afterwards, you're man, I overcame that. That was.
Was it you that I was talking to? It's an annual ritual?
I do every maybe year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. It's an oil change.
Yeah.
I
think it was you then. Yeah. That's interesting. Well, how long has it been since the last one?
About 2 years.
About 2 years. So you're due.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last one?
Yeah, me and my wife were watching Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
And those movies get dark pretty quick. The first one's very childlike and friendly, and then the second one, it starts to get a little darker. And the third one, it just takes a whole new tone, and it's like, oh my God, so we had to turn them off. And then my wife got her period in the middle of it, and I was like, oh my God, she's a Horcrux. What is this?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh no, you know what? That's actually not true. The last time I did was when our dog died last year.
Oh wow.
Because we went down to San Antonio, and it was actually the therapist recommended psychedelics. Like he asked if like I'd ever done psychedelics, and I was like, yeah, I've done psychedelics before. And he's like, you know, they could help you. I was like, well, I mean, that's all I need is a doctor to recommend it, basically. And
Yeah.
And at that point, it had probably been a year since my last one. So, we went down to San Antonio. I had some mushrooms on with me, and we were ready for a good weekend there, ideally. And then the dog thing happened, right? And now here's the kicker. So whenever we're driving to Houston, right? We make it like to about Seguin, and when we're in Seguin, all of a sudden you see those red and blue lights, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not good. Like, I mean, we have like weed in the car smells, like weed. I got mushrooms right here,
and a dead dog to top it off
in the back. So I'm like, I'm like, another executive decision. I'm like, I'm not gonna let my wife like go down for this. So I just eat all the mushrooms.
Oh my God.
Right there. And so the cop comes over and he asks, he makes it like one sentence, and then he's like, it smells suspicious in here. I'm gonna need you to step out of the car. And I'm like, officer, I understand. I smell it too. You're not gonna believe this. I got a dead dog in the back. And he's like, dead dog, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard this 1,000 times, right?
Yeah, I heard some guy just got out of a comedy show with the same excuse.
Yeah. So he makes me get out of the car. We go to the back, open up the hatchback, pull out the cooler, open up the lid. He looks in. He's like, I'm sorry for your loss, son. And carry on. So,
wow. Did you have to say, like, we're driving from San Antonio to Houston to bury the dog, or was he just
yeah. I told him we're on our way to.
Yeah.
And so then my wife drives the rest of the way home because I just ate a bunch of mushrooms.
Yeah.
So then, we get there like 3 a.m. and I'm like burying this dog. It's like raining.
You're like got a shovel on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
So that was
what is that experience like?
It was horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Are you sure it was raining?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
like real rain?
Yeah, it was like it was humid.
Yeah.
It was humid.
Yeah. God, what a terrible experience. Yeah, that's, I'm sure you can tell by now, I'm always I don't know, it's strange. We were talking about it earlier. Now that I've had a kid, I'm more fear or danger averse, I guess, I get worried that something like that'll happen, and then that'll turn into like a really bad situation that I can't get out of. And it's like, now I abandon my kid somehow, like, oh, I had a bad trip, something happened, I'm in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and I don't know how likely that is, but that's the
I don't
fear.
think it's likely.
I know, but that's the fear. The kid does it to you, man.
Yeah. That's understandable. But I mean, so it was like driving here was,
I know.
in some ways statistically probably more dangerous than.
Yeah, but that's the thing with that type of anxiety is, I can sit there and tell myself like, this is irrational.
Yeah. And the irony is that the psychedelics would probably help that particular anxiety too.
Probably, yeah. Probably. I mean, yeah, I don't like taking medication for it. I feel better on it, but I certainly don't like taking it.
Right.
So that's part of like all the running I've been doing. I'm trying to drop weight so that I'm hoping that if I get down to the weight that I'm supposed to be at, what I feel like I'd be nice and healthy at, that maybe some of that other stuff will resolve as well. I don't know.
Sure.
Just a mixture of eating healthy, exercising, and then being in good shape.
How much weight have you dropped since you've started running?
So the last time that I was running this much, I didn't drop any weight. And because I was eating so much, because I was so tired after all these runs, you were just like gorging, right? So it wasn't helpful at all. So when I started running again this time, I was falling back into that same pattern. So I was like, man, I got to do something. It's clearly the diet, because The first marathon I ran felt like shit, like all the way through it. Afterwards, the next day, I think I ran it with a cold. I'm not sure. I felt like a little sick, but not, like when you're about to get a cold. That's kind of how I felt. And when I finished the marathon, I thought I was freezing cold and I was really running a fever. So I went and took like a hot shower because I was like, I've just been out in the 40-degree weather all day. I'm cold. And so I just ramped this fever up, and then I got real sick the next day. And
Damn.
Yeah. So that was the first experience, right? So then a month before the second marathon, that was in December, I'd signed up for another one in February because I wanted to prove like it's not a one-off. I can do more of these, right? And that one a month before, I really focused on my diet. I was eating really healthy. I was trying to get like good carbs, good fats, and good protein. And I felt way better through that whole one, right? So the diet was huge. And I ran less training for that second one than I did the first one. And I finished with a faster time. So the diet was like a really big deal. But I still didn't lose any weight. So I was still pretty frustrated with that. And so this go around, I decided
Not
to
making a good case for running.
I know. Well, what it is just I realized it's like your metabolism slows down, so you can do all the running you want, but if you're not focusing on your diet, nothing's going to happen, right? And then everything I was reading suggested to go plant-based. So I have stopped eating meat and dairy while training for this one. So for the last 2 months, I haven't been eating any meat or dairy, and I've just been trying to. And like I'm trying not to do like Beyond Meat or meat substitutes. I'm trying to do like healthy grains, healthy fats, vegetables, fruit, and like really, because that I can eat so much and the calorie intake is still lower, right, than if I eat a bunch of chicken or a bunch of steak. Those are still really high calorie by the time I'm full. Whereas if I eat, a salad, some mixed nuts, things like that, it's like the energy it takes to eat all that and fill you up, the calories are still pretty low compared to it, right? So that's been helping a lot. And then just been taking a lot of hemp protein to like curve, the hunger cravings. And so now I'm down like 14 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, but my goal, like I really probably want to lose like 30 to 40. So we'll see.
30 to 40 more?
No, in total.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
30 to 40 in total. So we'll see how it goes. I think I can get down maybe 10 more before I run this marathon, but we'll see what happens.
When is it?
December 11th.
Damn, that's going to be cold.
Yeah, it was cold last time. I went out for a run today. I was supposed to run 20 miles today, and I didn't plan like my attire very well because when I left the house, it was sunny and it felt incredible. So I put on some really light clothes to go running in, and then it's like I was about 2 or 3 miles in, and it was just cloud cover, and it got like kind of windy, and it was just freezing the whole time. And then like
Did you do it all 20 though?
No, I got to 11, and
that's a lot though.
I got in my head. Yeah, but the problem is the whole reason for doing that 20-mile run is to improve your mental strength that like you can do this, right? Because I've already done 2. I know I can do this distance, but you got to remind yourself like the mental part of it is the biggest part, right? And so it's like I had a little bit of reflux when I was running, and then you get in your head, you're like, what if that's a heart attack? What if I'm about to die right now?
Yeah.
Around White Rock Lake, right? And that now you're in that bad zone of like, and you can't get out of it. So I got to like mile 11. I felt like shit. My time was slow. So it was going to be like another 2 hours at the pace I was going to not feel that reflux and feel terrible. So it's like, I just called my wife. I was like, just come pick me up. And then it's like even more defeating because like the moment you get in the car, you're like, I could have ran 9 more miles. I could have done it. I was it's kind of like you were talking to your therapist. You're like, I was just being a little bitch back there. Like I could have just done it, But the reality is it's like, I'm in my late 30s. It's like, look, if you feel like shit, it's like, just go home, run a different day. Like you're not proving anything to anybody.
Yeah. You don't have a sponsorship.
Yeah.
Or anything.
You don't want to get injured, right? It's like, you're already losing weight. You're, worst case scenario, you don't complete this marathon and you lose a little bit of money. Best case scenario, you and even if you don't complete it and you lose a little money, it's like you lost weight, you improved your cardio, you're still getting exercise. It's all good.
Yeah.
But the competitive side of me is like, you fucking bitch.
Are you running the entire time? Are you taking like walk breaks?
On the one today, I was taking walk breaks because I was trying to get the
strategic walk breaks, or just when you're
what I do, I have a
a
pace that I want to keep at, and I only walk if I feel like I'm getting too aggressive with the pace or too slow with the pace. Like I don't want to go too fast and burn myself out. So sometimes if I'm going a little too quick, I'll start walking and just like, let's just regroup, just restart here.
Yeah.
But the marathon, the last one I did, it was running the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Inertia.
I would love to. It's easier to just keep going,
Right.
than the stopping really, really sucks sometimes. But today the idea was like, I'll just keep walking, I'll get there. And I think the walking wrecked me. I think if I just kept going, but then again, you're in your head, right? You're like, oh, I got some reflux. Maybe that was a heart flutter. Maybe this is some undiagnosed thing that nobody knows.
Yeah,
I'm about to
for somebody
collapse.
as anxiety riddled as yourself, seems like you're inducing a lot of anxiety.
Today was kind of an outlier. Normally, it's very like I'm wearing myself down, and this takes away my anxiety, right? Because I consciously started running without headphones to like, I live near White Rock Lake, so I can run around the lake. There's birds, there's ducks. They have these huge geese out there and stuff. It's like that was a very like hearing the sounds of even just other people jogging, riding bikes while you're just focusing on breathing. Like it's almost like it's a form of meditation, So I'll try to do like a breath in every, like if I'm breathing in, I'll try to make it go like 3 to 4 steps. And then if I'm breathing out, try to make that go 3 to 4 steps. So like really trying to control my whole body while I'm doing it. And that
breath is so crucial. People forget, you take advantage of just breathing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to focus on.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's true or not, but
breathing,
if I run for 2 hours like that, it's almost like I did breathing exercises for 2 hours as well. Like, because I never try to get in that huff and puff stage. I always try to do these big long breaths in, long breaths out. Yeah. And so my times are slower because of that, but I feel great, the next day, because I think that helps with the anxiety quite a bit. But
yeah, I rock climb, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm
Yeah,
at
yeah.
a point where some of the moves, it's whether or not you can do them is based entirely. It's not on finger strength or like balance. It's like breath. Because if you're like taking short breaths, you're like you could feel that like swaying like on the wall. So you really got to like. Take deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then otherwise, if your breaths are too choppy, then you're probably going to fall off the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, breathing, it's one of those that, like in my class, we like focus on breathing like all the time, try to teach them at that age, especially like whenever they have like a meltdown or if they're having like a fit. I try to teach them early that you're going to stay stuck like this if you don't get any oxygen to your brain. That's why you're going to continue to feel like this, and you're still just going to
yeah,
because you're taking these short breaths, and that's when you try to encourage them breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and it just kind of brings them back.
But again, it's always easy to say all that. It's like even when you're having a panic attack, all of that, but you're just stuck, man. That's the hard part. And I didn't have a panic attack today, but it's like I could tell that's what it was leading to. And our house is on one side of the lake, and I had just gotten to the other side of the lake. So I was like, it's like that's when it really kicks in your mind. You're like, there's no way back that isn't the same distance.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, fuck it. I'm not doing this today.
My dad, he when I was a kid, got into bicycle, like long distance bicycling. He did the MS 150.
Yeah. That's no fucking joke.
Yeah.
That's the really hot one up north, right?
I think it's from like Houston to Austin or something.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the hotter than hell. I think that's only 100 though. I say only 100. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, the hotter than hell. So 150, huh?
Yeah, he did like 30 miles and then called my mom and it's like, I made a huge mistake. She had to like drive all the way to the north side of Houston.
That's pretty funny. I've talked about it before on here, but that first one I did, you know Michael Pazvar. And I did the first one with him and one of his buddies, Sonny. And like the first marathon was very eye-opening to like the therapist you're talking about, right? You said he was a Korean War veteran? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that guy's got, more than likely, he's got a mental toughness that, I'll just never understand, right? Because of those types of things. Probably part of the reason he went into that field now, right? So when you're out there running, it's like you'll see people that are fatter than you, more out of shape than you, older than you, whatever, and they're just passing you. They're just going faster than you, and it's like they just keep going. And they have that like grizzled, like I'll never forget this one guy on the back of his shirt. It said for Vic. He's running this for Vic, whoever Vic is. Vic could be, his lover that they couldn't come out for the last 30 years because of homophobia. Vic could be his best friend, his brother, his dad. I don't know, whatever.
Could be the rapper.
Somebody who was very, very important to him, right? And he looked like he just should be in an ER, right? He was out of shape, overweight, old. He's probably late 60s, and dude, he's running with like a lean, like he can't even hold his body up straight anymore.
Yikes.
And we were probably at mile 18 at that point of 26, right? So he's got a ways to go. Both of us do. And we're going up this big hill, and his feet like aren't even coming off the ground at this point. He's kind of shuffling the whole way. And I'm walking. I'm like, I'm going to walk up this hill. Vic over here is going to pass me. But when I get to the top of the hill, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to pass his ass. I'm not losing to this guy, right? And it's still competition, but I've just got to get this in my mind of like, I got to get going again. And so I get to the top of the hill, and I'm trying to turn it on, and it's just not coming on. And his feet are still just shuffling, and he's just going off in the distance, and I never saw him again. And so he had a faster time than me that day. And you realize it's like, I don't know what happened to him, but he's just got more mental strength than me. You know what I mean? He's just mentally tougher because he's not physically in better shape. He just he had a job he worked for however long and hated it, or he had a relationship that went south that was really bad. Something happened, right? And to him, yeah, this sucks, but it doesn't suck as bad as that other thing I did. And that's what I realized it's all about. It's like you can train, but you got to get your mind right where you're not going to, basically you need to just keep running. Like it's okay to walk, but like just keep pushing forward. And otherwise, you're going to call your wife and she's going to come pick you up on the other side of the lake. Yeah,
it was humiliating. It was really, really emasculated that day.
I'm not sore about it or anything. Like
No. Yeah, it was ambitious.
And there's she had like I text her. I was like, "Do you think you can come get me?" Because like our son took a nap, so I was waiting to text her until like I thought our son would be up from the nap at least, right? And she calls me and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm over here." She's like, "Okay, all right, let me get him ready." Like now she's got to like put clothes on her kid and all that. I was like, oh God. It's like, this is so defeating. Yeah. And she's like 100% willing to do it. Like she knows 11 miles is still really far, but she's just like,
sure.
But she's like, why did you start the run if you weren't gonna, like, you knew 20 miles was too far? Like,
you have to think about it. It's like further than 99% of people in the world probably ran that day.
I guess. Yeah. I guess.
So
there's a meme going around. It's like only 1% of people have ever run a marathon, and 100% of them won't shut the fuck up about it.
Now, what's up with the 0.2 on the marathon? Why?
I don't know, man.
You don't know the history of the marathon?
Well, I know a little bit. To add to my anxiety, the story that I've consistently read is that it's named, we call it a marathon after a person named Marathon who ran from, I think this was in Greek times. He ran from one place to the other place to let someone know like a war is about to start, which was 26.2 miles. And then he died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so great reason to then start running marathons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the tale. That's what I've heard consistently. Is some dude named Marathon had to run from one place to the other to warn them, and it was that distance, and that's why we do it.
Those Greeks really had their moment.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Kind of coasting off of early civilization success.
Did you ever? I took a course. What was it? It was one of the prereqs for like every single degree you could possibly get. One of the basics. I think it was just the humanities or something, right? And I had a teacher. She was just getting a little clit boner every time we talked about the Greeks. Like she would start grabbing her chest a little bit, and like. If she had a time machine, she would go back there and live in that time. That was her period, and she could not, she'd get flush.
Oh my God. Her and Sandusky.
Yeah. She was. She refused to talk a lot about how many young men were getting raped during the Greek time period. She was just romanticizing the rest of it. And it's like, it wasn't all great, all right? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never forget that. Like,
Love to hear reviews on the antebellum.
she thought that was the best time period. You could not talk her out of it. And you could tell, like, I mean, she looked like, she is like the stereotypical like cat lady, right? Just kind of like a lonely person. And so this was her escape. She bought any little paperback book she could about Greek times and escaped. It was really strange.
My philosophy teacher in college, he was very depressed and in the middle of the school year jumped off the parking garage. Yeah, he was always in his head. He was a brilliant guy.
Did he succeed in his suicide?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it was a tall garage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
They shut down class for the rest of the year. Still got credit, though.
For the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to come in and sub for that class, I guess.
Yeah, and he was like a beloved teacher. Everybody really liked him. But I always thought it was just the philosophy, he was just thinking all the time. Like, it's one thing to like, I'm a philosophy enthusiast or I'm a philosophical guy, but like you have to like teach a class about it. Like,
yeah,
you're just always in your head, more so than the average person.
I feel that way about astronomy. That's a hobby of mine, right? But I'm not intelligent enough to know the depths of it on like a mathematical level, right? And so if I could go back and change anything, I would want to learn, I would want to be better at math, physics, calculus, all of that to understand astronomy more.
Yeah, you just appreciate the wonder of it now.
Right now it's just everything's big, right? But it's like, no, there's a great, I think she works at Columbia. Her name is Jana Levin. She's kind of like a Neil deGrasse Tyson person where she tries to tell us in stupid people terms.
Just a champion of education. Right?
Yeah. In her field, she studies black holes. That's been her field and her passion. And that's the one thing that, to me, studying a black hole is the same as trying to prove any one religion is correct, right? Because there's no way to know, right? We could all be wrong about religious beliefs, or this one could be correct. Or we have our thoughts on it, right? But at the end of the day, you only know when you die. So anyone who knows what religion is correct, or if there's religion at all, or God or anything, they can't come tell you, right? Because they're dead. And that's the way a black hole is, right? It's like you can't even send a probe in to study it because none of your information can get out because anything even running at the speed of light is not fast enough to escape. And so those are the types of things where it's kind of like that philosopher where your philosophy teacher, where you're like, so why are we doing this whole Russia-Ukraine thing? We should be figuring out the black hole thing. Like what are black holes? Why does this exist? But we're still fighting about all this small stuff, So I could see how he could get to a dark space pretty fast.
Oh,
when he understands it on a really, really deep level.
Yeah, because I think just the more you think, probably the sadder you get. Like, because it's just
yeah. I try to when I think about those things now, I try to flip it to where you're optimistic about it, right? Like, to me, I think of like what an incredible, like the statistical likelihood that you exist, pretty rare. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
When you consider there's been multiple extinction events, your solar system, the fact that it even exists is just because some dust happened to coalesce the correct way. Earth happened to coalesce at the correct distance from the sun, that you have just enough heat, just enough cold. It happens to be just on a good enough tilt that you have seasons, right? The moon happens to be just the perfect moon to help affect tides and all these things to create.
That's God, baby.
To create, right? Could be, right?
Probably not, but
and that's a whole nother thing, right? Of like, okay, now you're in this, I've said it multiple times, but like now you're in this Russian doll situation, right? Like whether it's God or whether it's all the universe just creating, right? So let's say, okay, on one hand, boom, no God. God doesn't exist. There was a big bang. The universe was created. Everything is just chance, right? Okay, well, what was the nothing space that the big bang started in? That has to be something encapsulating that, right? Like our brains can't think of nothing creating something. But then even bigger than that, it's like, well, why is there nothing to begin with? Why is there nothing that created a Big Bang? Why would that even need to be a thing? That
Yeah. And
right?
They say it's like ilum, the primordial atom, ilum. They say it's about as big as a grapefruit. Like the thing that initially got so hot that
I don't even know.
Like, what is that? Where did that come from?
But that's the thought I think the most about with astronomy is why any of it at all, right? And so then let's say we get those answers, right? This universe was created this way for these reasons. Okay, but now we just learned that it's housed by this other thing. And now we've got to find out how that other thing is the, what, why, how of that. And it's endless, right? It just keeps going.
That's what I try to tell my class. Like, your favorite word should be why, because it just always goes on.
Yeah.
Even when you get an answer for that, you can ask why about that, and just
it's never ending.
Like at that age, all they want to do is understand. You're just trying to help them.
Are you familiar with the musician Sturgill Simpson?
Oh hell yeah, dude!
Dude, he's got a great lyric. The only word you ever need to know in life is why.
Oh yeah.
My wife and I say that to each other all the time. But
yeah, that dude rocks.
Dude, he's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's finally getting all the recognition, but he was so underrated for so long, and I was late to the party. I didn't really understand what he was doing until his album, Sailor's Guide to the Universe, when that came out. My wife was like, you're going to like this guy. She's like, will you listen to it? Because the two albums he had before that, or one album before, I was like, I don't know. It seems like this same country shit I'm not going to really enjoy. And she's like, no. It sounds like that, but he's not doing that.
It's like true outlaw country.
Yeah, but you're so jaded because you've heard so much shitty country.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And it's like he steered me back into going like, oh, no, there's still good stuff happening out there. But did you see his rock anime album that he did?
Yeah, we watched that. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, just a real visionary.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what he does next. But
yeah, I opened up for a band called Night Spins. It was the band I told you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you checked them out.
No, I forgot to. Thanks for reminding me, though.
Yeah, they
Sorry, Night
They were
Spins.
at Double Wide.
That's a great venue to watch a band at.
Yeah.
So you did comedy at Double Wide?
They let me go do, like 30 minutes up top for them. And, man, they're like kind of like garage rock, but they got a great sense of humor, and it's like catchy songs, and it's playful and aggressive, and it was cool to be able to open up for like a musician like that. So that's a whole different thing.
So you liked doing that?
Yeah, it was.
What was the crowd like at Double Wide whenever you go up? And first of all, did they introduce you? Did they say like, we're going to do some comedy, or did you just go up there?
They were like, well, just go ahead and get on the stage now. And so nobody brought me up or anything. So
yeah, and for people who don't live in
room.
Dallas, the Double Wide it probably holds what, like 80 people in there, maybe 100.
Yeah, maybe like 100 people.
It's a very small space, no seats or anything, and it's called the Double Wide because it looks like a double wide trailer. So it's a really intimate, dingy venue. It's really cool. So yeah, that seems. Well, did they? Was it awkward at first, or did they kind of instantly go with it? The crowd.
It took some wrangling,
Mm-hmm.
and because you go up there, you just look like a crazy person at first. You like,
Yeah.
This guy's got the audacity. You're just gonna get up on stage and talk.
Yeah, and you're like, the band asked me to do this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm part of the show.
That out of the way,
Yeah.
and then it's just loud because like the music is still on outside. You can still hear that.
That's
so you're
right.
kind of like
Because they keep that
adjusting,
door wide open so people go in and out.
keep it double wide open.
Double wide open.
But it was fun. It was really cool, and it was the second time I've like opened up for a musician. I opened up for this group called the Boombox way back when, and it's just an interesting dichotomy to think about, like life as like a music performer and life as like a comedian performer. It's like, I was watching these guys and they rock. I mean, they were on the show called No Cover this summer. It was a YouTube show where they had like these independent like rock groups trying to compete for like a record label. Alice Cooper was a judge.
Oh, wow.
Gavin Rossdale was a judge. There was two other people I didn't know that were judges. They got kicked off like the first episode. And then probably like 4 episodes later, Alice Cooper was like, we made a huge mistake. by kicking night spins off. We got to bring him back. So they brought him back. They made it all the way to the finals.
Hell yeah.
And they lost in the finals. But so they rock. So they're up there like rocking. And you like still like look around and like I'm there like when I go to a show like I love going to like live music. I think that's the best way to experience music is going to like live performances. We went to Corey Wong the day after. We went to Corey Wong on Friday night. And that was so much fun, too. You know Corey Wong?
No.
Oh, I got to send you Corey Wong.
All right,
So,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
Wolfpack?
No.
Okay,
I don't think so.
all right. Yeah, I'm going to put you on.
Yeah,
But you'd walk around, you'd see these people, and it's like, I mean, they're on stage, they're locked in, they're in the pocket, they're grooving, and people are still, like, too cool for school to, like, show that they're being affected by the music. And you compare that to, like, comedy, and it's not that. Like, people, it's hard to stifle a laugh. Like, if they feel what the performer's doing on stage, they let it be known with laughter. Like, it's nobody's ever too cool for school to laugh usually. So
yeah, comedy. I mean, I love both, right? That's why I do this show, and I'm still always kind of analyzing what you were just talking about. It's one of my favorite things to do now. Now that I've gotten to know some of you guys over the last couple of years, and hear like the curtains pulled back enough that I can like know a little bit about how this is made, right? So now when I'm going to shows, I'm in a really fun spot where you're kind of like watching the crowd a lot too. You know, you're watching the performer, but you can kind of see out of the corner of your eye what's going on. And it's really fun to think about like what makes someone laugh, right? Because like you just said, you can't control it. Not a fake little like, okay, even on your special, do we call it a special now? What do we call it?
was not intended to be a special.
What do we call it?
I was just putting out
an evening with the
my
Improv
set.
Yeah,
and it just happened to rack up
these
views.
So that clip, there's this great.
We can call it special.
Well, I don't
call it special.
It's got 13,000 views now. We might as well call it.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
So anyway, there's somebody in that crowd has this great like wheezing laugh. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Where it's almost whistling. It's it's so like
and it's
like,
not at a joke. It's just
no.
at the moment and just the absurdity of what's happening.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're
it was
talking
in between a joke, and
Yeah.
then when you listen for it later, you hear it at the other jokes. But you're like, that person in that moment, like they can't control that. They
Right.
wouldn't do that if they had any opportunity to not do it. And so comedy will always kind of have that impact a little more than music will. And it's really interesting. Like it because first of all, laughter is so weird anyway, right? Like what is the evolutionary reason for laughter? That makes no sense at all. That, you know, you just make this weird, silly noise, you know?
Yeah.
But people do, and they can't control it. And
Yeah.
then you feel
And you
so...
like it.
Yeah, and that guy, when he was done with that, he probably felt so good that he got that out of his system, right?
Yeah.
And it was great. Like I backed it up a few times just to listen to this wheezy. I can't even mimic it because it was him laughing like, but it was so high pitched. It was like a whistle, and it was into this great dead space. And I was like, oh man, that really just sums it up.
Those are the laughs that over the last couple of years I'm trying to get more of.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, like when I first started, I was almost trying to like outsmart audiences, and they were very heady laughs, and those are great, but like guttural laughs are just more effective, you know, and they just resonate more, and you can always tell which ones are more, which ones are like, oh, that they out clevered me, but I have to laugh at it because it was objectively funny.
Well, you're probably one of the few, especially in our scene anyway, but just one of the few in general where like you do have to think about towing that line of how intelligent do you want to make this joke, right? Like how clever do you want it to be versus how broad of a hit do you want from the audience, you know? Because even like I was reading some of the descriptions, and it's like that was the most consistent thing that like you had Linda Stogner. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Who's the manager at the Improv?
Sean Trainer.
Yeah, Sean Trainer,
really nice
Linda
thing,
Stogner,
and then
Billy
wrote a really nice thing.
Yeah,
So
and
TK wrote a really nice thing.
But all of them had a very consistent theme of like, you know, you have a good habit of writing something that's smart in the way of like the audience thinks they know where you're about to take them, and then you take a strong turn, but that's also sprinkled in with, I'm trying to think of one of the jokes, but I don't want to step all over it. But basically, like, you do have to know a little bit of what's happening in the world. Not like politics or anything necessarily, but like you have to be somewhat intelligent to get some of these jokes. Plenty of them are just like anybody can go listen to it, right? But what was the fucking joke? Anyway, I'll think of it here a little bit later. But
I try not to stay too topical. I try it. You know.
Yeah, I'm expressing it poorly, but
I do like to play with tension. It's almost musical.
That might be the better way to do it. Is
like
the tension of it. Yeah,
you create it, and at the very last moment, I like to resolve. It's like going back to the one chord, like at the very last part of the song.
Here's a great example. It's the opener, and I'm not going to spill it to everybody. Just go watch it. If you can't handle the first 10 seconds, then you weren't meant to watch this anyway. But like you make a Hitler joke right at the start, right?
Yeah.
So it's like immediately it's like you got to know a little bit about the world for this to be really funny.
Right.
Right? Because we're not going to break down why that was funny, then it won't be funny at all.
Somebody said something really nice to me last week where I said that joke, and afterwards one of the tags is like, some of the jokes tonight will require prerequisites.
Yeah.
And she was like, that was the nicest way to like say an audience is stupid I've ever heard. And that's not how I'm like intending it.
I know.
But that is what it is, because I'm not trying to, call any audience stupid or anything.
No.
But it's just like,
well, and that's the thing. It's like you're doing it in a way where, like, if you didn't get it, you're still able to laugh that you didn't get it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't feel like, oh, he just called me a dumbass. It's like, no, he's right. I don't know what that one is. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny.
I also try to write like that one. Also, that right off the get go kind of seems like you might know my political views or something.
Yeah.
But that same show, somebody came up to me, or from that show, somebody came up to me and said the person they were with, they were like, the guy I was with, he was like, it was so refreshing to see a funny conservative comedian. And she was like, what? And she was like, yeah, that dude up there, when he told that vaccine joke, I was like, finally somebody's saying it.
Wow.
And I was like,
That's the one. Well, we're not going to say it anyway. Watch the clip. But yeah.
But it's about funny because it's I like both sides thinking that I'm on their side, basically. Like,
I just watched Tim Dillon's Netflix special. Have you watched him?
oh, I mean, I've never seen his
You should watch.
stand-up,
You should watch his stand
I'm
up.
familiar with
Yeah,
his
yeah.
podcast clips
He's
sometimes.
He's outrageous, right? And but I realized that was kind of what the genius is about his stand up is if you just pull out a 2-minute clip, random 2-minute clip, you can make him whatever political affiliation you want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so difficult to nail him down to anything because he's going like the South Park route of like everything is funny or nothing's funny.
Right. Exactly.
And he's still a little. I like him, but there's still stuff where I'm just like, God, I got to take a break from this guy for a minute. It's so much yelling all the time.
That's the good thing I like about my merch, like the stickers I have. Come and take it, right, with the Rubik's Cube, because it's about the story, right? You can,
Yeah, thanks,
but like
man.
people on the left are like, oh,
that's
this is a
awesome.
smart guy, got the Rubik's Cube, I get it. And people on the right are like, come and take it, let's do it, brother.
Dude, that's awesome. I didn't know you were pushing this merch. That's great.
Yeah, they're just stickers. I give
Yeah.
out of them, but yeah.
I have thought about getting a Rubik's Cube just because of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You should
yeah.
do it.
I don't know. Not yet. I will, but not yet.
It's
I showed somebody I was showing them, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's funny. It was a friend of mine. I was like, he put up a thing on YouTube, go watch it now. And he's like, what's up with the Rubik's Cube? I was like, oh, he does Rubik's Cube. He's good at it. And we clicked on a different video or something, and it showed how many.
This is a 5x5x5. This separates the men from the boys.
What's the standard one?
3x3x3.
Right. So when
They say there's as many permutations for this as there are atoms in the known universe.
So when he saw this one, he's like, oh, he knows. Like he was like, he's good. I was like, he knows what he's doing with it, man. Like,
I mean, I used to take that thing out to bars and just like hustle people with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I bet you could. How long have you been doing this now? I can't remember. We talked about it before.
I picked it up very late in life. I was maybe 6 years I've been doing the cube now.
Well, because you were the first person to tell me, like, when you buy it, they tell you how to solve it.
Comes with instructions.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, shit. I've never seen one out of the box, though.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, so by that night, I could do it in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you just follow. And then by that week, you whittle that down to like 2 minutes. And then
And then it moves on.
it's just a testament to how more friends you have than me. Like, I had time to do this, you know?
No, but you also had time to like learn how to play guitar and all those types of things, do the cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that was, I learned guitar late in life,
Yeah.
too, when I was in college. And I was living with a guy who got accepted to Berklee School of Music playing guitar. He was the guitarist in our band. And I just learned everything from him. And
That's awesome.
I would just, I almost treated it like a job. I would skip class and just do like 8-hour days, just
Yeah.
like learning guitar, playing guitar.
See, I was lucky. I picked it up when I was like 14 or 15. So it's like I didn't have a car. I couldn't go anywhere. I was in a small town. So it's like you only had hours in the day after school to learn
no
it.
internet to distract you.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the thing you did, right? And then, you know, I don't know how anybody learns that stuff when they're older. Like, I don't know how if you have a job and like a relationship, how you learn something like that.
Yeah, for
you know?
sure. I just bought a electronic drum kit. It came
Oh,
in
yeah?
a couple days ago. Yeah, because the Astros won the World Series. So
Dude, I'm telling you, man, we're living in
money.
a simulation because I just saw somebody today driving with an electronic drum set in the back of their truck, like they just picked it up off Craigslist or something.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's random. It's all a simulation. That's what.
Synchronicity, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a little Roland 1T DK.
Dude,
or
that's
something,
badass.
but it's really, really cool. I mean, I've been living on that thing all week.
Those things are so much fun to play because there's a
Yeah.
feel to them that's just a little different than a regular kit, right? Not enough to change any of your playing, but it just feels a little more fun, like the way it pops back at you a little bit.
Right, yeah.
Those are so much fun to play.
Yeah, and you change different settings. There's like 15 different drum kits I can choose
Yeah.
from, and there's like drumless tracks you can drum with.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the whole thing is really, really cool.
So what, you're going to try to get pretty good at drums now?
I was a drummer in a band for like 10 years.
Oh, I guess I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now you're just playing again then?
I'm just playing. I haven't played since our wedding.
Wow.
I was the band
What was that, like 2019?
2019,
Yeah.
April 420.
Oh, that's right.
2019,
Yeah. Hitler's birthday.
Yeah, we were the wedding band. My old.
That's right. Dude,
my
I
old
just
college
watched
band.
I just watched that mushy little video y'all put up of your wedding, by the way. I was so jealous of how y'all did your wedding. Yeah,
my
man.
brother-in-law did that.
They did a great job on that, man.
He was a videographer for that.
It seemed very much, you know, like he nailed how you would want it done.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like your style of. By the way, do you look back at that with your long hair and your mustache and you're like, look at that little guy? Like, does that seem like forever ago now?
No.
No?
I still feel like that guy.
Do you?
I still feel like I'm 17, to be honest. Like 1 year away from real responsibility.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe. I feel like even just watching you, like you've not matured, but things have just escalated really well for you, don't you think?
Yeah, I've had some milestones over the last couple of years. The ESPN thing was pretty cool.
I forgot
really,
about that altogether. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, remind me what went down with that.
Well, it was about a bet that I had made. I put $1,000 on the Astros to win the World Series in 2017 accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was making $100 bet, but I was on psychedelics and added an extra zero.
Yeah.
And so and then the Astros won that year, so it paid out pretty well. And
What were the odds?
they were 13-1 that year. So
Hell yeah, dude.
nice.
That's so cool, man.
It was nice. So ESPN caught wind of that story, and then they asked me to come out and do this like show.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Drunk History, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell the betting story, and somebody's like reenacting it.
Yeah.
And they flew me out to Bristol, Connecticut, or flew me out to New York, and then drove me to Bristol. And when you get there, you're like, oh, this is going to be like the commercials. I'm going to see like Dirk, you know, giving out letters, and like LaDainian Tomlinson's going to be spinning around in a chair or something.
Yeah.
But it was the most depressing place I've ever been. It was like, I mean, it looked like
Just beige cubicles.
Yeah, it was like on this dock. I mean, it looked like where the Sopranos like kill people sometimes.
Yeah.
It was just this warehouse that was just bare. And so we walked in. It was with the guy Mike Greenberg, Greeny, his big ESPN personality. And yeah, it was cool. And that came out last year, and that was pretty cool. It opened up some opportunities. It was pretty cool. The guy that played me was a comic. He's a NYU kid.
Oh, that's cool.
And he just got his like an Amazon thing for stand-up, I think. He just
Oh, wow.
recorded something at Amazon. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
And the first time I watched it, whenever it aired, he was actually in town, and we watched it together. He showed up actually to my in-laws' place
Nice.
last year, and we watched it, and that's when the beginning, whenever they were starting to like kind of be upset with me, so we had
Yeah.
to like watch it in silence in our room. It was really weird. They were like walking on eggshells coming up the stairs. No, let me show you a picture, because the guy, he kind of looks like me. He's like Indian, and like all the Indians at my school, all the parents, they think I'm Indian, so it was cool to just get that validation. Yeah, and he was actually in town this week. I think he was supposed to come to Backdoor.
What's his name?
His name's Wyatt Figrado, I think that's how you say his name. Yeah, but the great air right here.
Yeah, this is what we bring.
Oh, here we go, right here. So that's him. So the bottom is me during the interview, and then on the other one is him in the show, and then up top is us watching.
Wow. Yeah.
In a room. So
first of all,
it was really surreal. Like
you look so cool sitting in that chair. You know what I mean? You look like you belong in that chair.
I've always thought I belong on ESPN. Yeah, that's always, stand-up was a means to an end.
Yeah,
to get to ESPN somehow.
You made it, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a cool little thing, and I just thought it was going to be like a cool credit, but they ended up paying you for it too, which was
That's
nice.
badass.
And put you in a nice hotel, and yeah, the whole thing was a really cool.
Yeah, you were like the who's the mattress guy that just made that absurd bet?
Oh, hell yeah, Mattress Mac.
Mattress Mac, yeah. Somebody was educating me on him, that he like opened up his stores during the hurricane and stuff, so people could sleep there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my parents probably have like 5 pieces of furniture that they have personally bought from Mattress Mac, because he's there every day working the floor. Like,
he's the
selling.
man, huh? That's
he's not just
and so
a face.
he just made like something crazy.
$75 million.
$75 million.
Yeah, the biggest sports bet payout in history.
Fuck yeah, dude. You love to hear that people like that, like if you opened your doors for hurricane victims, right? It is awesome that you won $70 million, right? Because it's like, I feel like you're the type of person who's going to do something really cool with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he's the first to admit that he's a huckster.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah. The whole thing is basically, it was a promo. Like the whole thing was, this year, if the Astros won the World Series and you bought furniture that year during the season, that you wouldn't have to pay for your furniture.
Okay.
So, obviously, a lot of people are going to start buying furniture because they're like, fuck yeah, the Astros have a really good chance of winning it.
Yeah.
So then he just places this bet that if it does win, he can just offsets all the losses that he made from all that furniture.
Yeah, I don't care. That's still
good.
Incredible, though.
No, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great thing. Like, he's beloved in Houston.
Yeah,
I mean, he is a Houston icon.
So wait. Now that he won, a bunch of people just got their money back on furniture too?
Yeah. Well, if you
That's
so
fucking
even
baller.
within that last week, so as the Astros were going deeper in the playoffs, I mean, people were going out in droves buying more furniture.
Yeah, because there's no way he's going to sell $70 million worth of furniture, right? So he's still coming out ahead.
Yeah.
People get free furniture.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
It's really good.
When I hear stories like this, that's when I get terrified that like in a few years we're going to find out he's running like a kiddie porn cartel or something. You know what I mean? It's like, please just don't do anything to ruin your name, please. Like,
yeah, that would be an interesting story that came out.
I mean,
never from our beloved Mattress
No,
Mac.
that's not gonna. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have even put it out there.
No,
I apologize to everyone, but
no, how dare you?
Yeah. But anyway, you guys now have like if you ever bump into him, you've got an opener. You're like, I made a crazy bet once too.
Yeah, no, bump into it. I mean, you could go there today or tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. He'll be there.
Dude,
it's not like
wild.
if you bump into him. It's like if you decide to go to Gallery Furniture, you will see him there.
Dude, that's unheard of because like you don't go anywhere anymore where you know somebody on that level now, right? Where like, oh, so and so, they're always there, and they're also worth $70 million now.
Yeah,
that's insane.
He really cares. I mean, I remember the first time I saw A Bug's Life was there. They have like a little movie theater where you can like drop off your kids while the parents go shop for furniture, and there's a bowling alley there, and there's
hell yeah, man.
I mean, the whole place he's really figured it out. He's really tapped into being a great capitalist, I guess,
Yeah, but if you're, I've never had a problem with you being a capitalist, right? Like, I don't think you should.
Well, there's a difference between capitalism and corporatism.
There you go. That's probably the way to do it then. Yeah.
In a lot of ways for me, Bernie Sanders is a true capitalist. Like, he would rather see all these like mom and pop shops, independent shops. Sure, you might have to pay a little bit more for your goods, but it's like, it's not just going to be like, you know, same target in every town. You know, there's going to be more individuality. It's going to be more capitalistic and less corporatistic. So a lot of people conflate those two things, I think, and they think that if you're like, you know, think corporations are fucking evil, then you're like anti-capitalist. But it's like those two things are different. Like, capitalism is capitalism to a point, and then corporations take over, and it's not about making something good. It's about, you know, your profit margins every year and how to make more money.
And I'm not even anti-billionaire, right? It's just, what type of billionaire are you going to be, right? Because I think guys like Cuban are doing it right. You know, it's like, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's also starting all of these other companies. Like, he's not hoarding this cash.
Right.
You know, he doesn't have just one or two things that make all this money all the time. You're constantly finding out about these other businesses. And then, you know, it could be a move out of his playbook, but it's like, then you watch him on Shark Tank and it's like some crafty business just needs like 75 grand.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, absolutely, don't give a shit. Yeah, it's what's 75 grand to me, and this is going to change your life. And it's like, yeah, just be that way. It's like, I don't think you should have to give all of your money away as a billionaire, but I think you should feel an urge to, right? You should feel like, I have so much, what can I do with this? And you can pick your problem. I don't care what it is. Like,
and ultimately, like, a better world for everyone
absolutely
is a better world for everyone. So like, you have to live here too. So like, I mean, like, it doesn't make sense to like, you want to live in this like late capitalist hellscape. No, you know, you would want to make your.
We all know where this is going to go. We all know the end to this, which is not going to be good, right? Bernie is probably going to always be one of my biggest heartbreaks. That, you know what I mean? That was the only political candidate I've ever gotten very excited about. That was the first political rally I've ever gone to. And when I was there, where you feel like, wow, like, I believe what this guy's saying, because I can go back and watch him saying similar things for the last 30 years on YouTube. Right? I don't believe he's just doing it just to win me over. But what it did teach me is, like, marketing is everything, right? Because I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe, other than the DNC kind of not wanting him there, right? When he caught all that traction on. His biggest problem was his marketing, right? It's just like defund the police, right? If you tell someone you feel like the police departments are becoming far too militarized and we need to scale this back to something that is more of a service for people rather than something that is attacking its own citizens, people would be like, yeah, you probably got a point there. We don't need tanks on the police department, right? But when you just shout defund the police, right, you instantly shut off ears of a whole group of people who are like, we need police. What are you talking about, right? And so the marketing really misses. But you got to have something catchy because everybody's got a short fucking attention span and you can't explain to them.
You have a good slogan.
Yeah, so it's like the slogan's a hard thing, right? And that was Bernie's problem, was if you could go like, look, if we reallocate our tax system to put this money towards education, we can get free education, at least at state schools, for everyone in our country. And we can put standards on that like, you must have a certain GPA in high school and all these types of things, and then you'll be able to get a free education. And by having a more educated, you know, general population, we will solve a lot of other problems just from having people being more educated.
Sure, again, then because that affects who gets elected.
Right.
Ultimately, I mean,
everybody benefits from everyone being smarter.
Yeah, if people are like upset about like congressmen being fucking idiots, well, I mean, like, people voted for them, so it's the reflection is of the electorate, really. So if you have uneducated people in a state, you know, in a constituency, the chances of one of them being asked to represent them are pretty high. But if you just continue to educate,
So all that makes sense, but the slogan was free school.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, nothing's free, Bernie. Nothing's free. I don't believe this huckster, you know? And it's like...
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, if somebody like tried to describe what a library is, like, to like a Republican today, they'd be like, "No way, are we going to do this? Are you kidding me?"
Well, that's the thing.
Free
it's like
books. What do you?
And so when you put a guy like that in a political debate, and he's got a minute and a half to talk about how free college is going to work, you know, and it's like, no, guys, we know it's not free, but we're already paying taxes, and these taxes can be used to make everyone more educated, and that would be better for everyone, you know, but. He can't get that out. So it'll always be, that was a big lesson of like, really choose your slogan wisely, you know, because I think what they were hoping is a slogan like free college would get all of these young voters out, right? And he did. He got a lot of people who don't normally vote to come out and vote. So it was successful. But it's still like banking on one demographic to vote has never paid off, right? And that's the lesson that I think like Democrats can't figure out is it's like whether you're saying we're going to go after this minority group or this age group or this socioeconomic status, it's like you can't depend on one group. You really have to think about what's, you know, in general best for all of those groups if you want to get them all to come vote for you.
Yeah, that's like the big like stark difference between the two parties too is that like with the Conservative Party, it's a very clear point of view. Like it's very linear in their philosophy, but for like the Democrat, there's like 30 different like viewpoints that make up people who vote Democrat. You know?
And they all feel like that viewpoint is the most important and it has to be dealt with right now.
Right.
And it's like, guys, you know, I think they're struggling to realize, you know, like compromise is a big deal. We all have to compromise within ourselves and get on the same page if you want anything to get done.
Yeah. Well, the true genius of Republicans is that they campaign on, you know, the government can't get anything done. Washington is just idiots. They can't get anything done. So they get elected, and then they go to Washington and obstruct for the sake of obstruction, and then point to that as evidence and be like, see, we told you government can't get anything done. It's like...
Yeah, isn't that great? Like, elect me to the thing that never gets anything done.
Yeah.
This thing's horrible, but please put me in there.
Yeah,
You know?
it's... running for office is weird. It's one of those things where it's... you can get elected by shitting on the job the whole time. You're like, why... You know, why do you want to do this? It's like...
Or you can get elected just because the other person sucks at the job so bad.
Right.
Right? Like, I didn't really... I voted for Beto as a senator because I thought, like, that's a good spot for him. I think he would be a great senator for Texas when he ran against Cruz. And I begrudgingly voted for him for governor just because I really don't like Abbott, you know? And it's like... But you're sitting there, you're like, man, it feels so disgusting to vote for someone just because you don't like the other person. Right. And that's so much of politics right now, too. It's like I'm voting for Trump because I hate Hillary. I'm voting for Hillary because I hate Trump. Right. Or Biden or whatever, you know, insert name. And
you're not voting for anyone.
No.
You know.
And I've refused to do that on the presidential runs. Like that to me still seems really important. It's like I'll pick a third party or I'll write something in. You know,
Ron Paul 2012.
I wrote in Bernie, you know, that first run because it's like, man, he should have been there instead of Hillary.
Is a lot of it too. Is I really feel like if the pandemic would have happened a month late or earlier, or if Andrew Yang wouldn't have dropped out until a month later, I think there's case for him making a further run in that Democratic nominee. Because it was right when COVID happened. It was like a week after that. Mitt Romney was like, hey, maybe we should think about this universal basic income thing. And it's like, where does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
This one guy over here has been like campaigning on it this whole time.
And he probably would have known how to implement it in a much better way.
I think
than just like two weird random payments or whatever it was, you know?
Yeah. You got to have like 21st century solutions for 21st century problems, and like so much of these elected leaders are just so old that
dude, they're all so fucking old.
You can't. I mean, you hear like them like talking to Mark Zuckerberg and shit, and they're like, "What is poke? What is?" It's like you don't understand anything. You're in a bubble. Like you talk about these other people being in a bubble, but like you have no idea how this world is operating.
Any candidate right now that ran on term limits, I don't care what party they're for, I'll vote for them.
Oh, for
if
sure.
If they were like, I'm not going to do shit but institute term limits, or I'm going to let all these other people handle this other stuff. I'm going to spend 4 years on making sure we put term limits on every single position.
Hell yeah.
Supreme Court, everybody. And then like you would, and then they're like, I'm not going to do anything else. That's all I'll achieve. I'll be like, that's worth my vote.
Yeah, that was the great thing about Trump in 2016, campaign Trump, which was my favorite version of Trump because he was up there being entertaining as shit at the debates, shitting on like Jeb Bush, getting booed at by all these people, and like not like it was so cool to watch.
Yeah,
and him just basically being like, yeah, like this system is rigged. I know it because I contributed to it.
Yeah,
and that was refreshing. A lot of people like were really refreshed to hear it.
But
he was
Trump.
talking about term limits at one point, and I was like, this guy might be onto something.
I fucking hate him. I don't think he'd make a great president. I don't think he did make a great president. But you can't deny on that 2016 run how much he was like. That's what was confusing about him is you didn't like him, but then on a couple occasions you'd be like, well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. What he's saying right there is 100% true. I just don't believe he's the guy to fix it, you know?
Right.
But he was dead on. Like when he's talking about draining the swamp and stuff, it's like, yeah, I don't think you're going to drain it, but you're 100% right. Like it's really fucked up
He
there.
ended up bottling it up and like selling it to his supporters.
I mean,
like
I don't
snake oil shit.
I don't trust him, but the things he was saying were 100% true about, you know, a lot of the issues that we have in politics. And what's funny too is like they should all be taking a little, you know, lesson out of his playbook about they ignored all these states that they thought they had locked up. They're like, they always vote this way. They always vote blue. We got that. So what did he do? He spent all this extra time in those states just flipping them. And it's like, it just goes to show, like, whether you're a politician, a business, whatever, it's like you need to pay attention to your, you know, your customer, your political base. Like you need to be there addressing them.
I don't know. I don't know if they were voting for Trump. Because I think a lot of those people are just voting against Hillary.
Maybe,
like,
but
I think a lot of that because on that same token, like Beto, he's a guy that was going to every single county in Texas and
for
making
that Senate
himself,
run.
Yeah, he was making. But he did that for both and his governor run. It's like that didn't work out. People didn't respond to that.
I would argue though that he has still been the most successful challenger because of that. I think because I don't really think he's done anything personally. Like
No.
So for someone who hasn't done anything to be that much of a challenger, I think is a testament to how that does work, going out and talking to people. I don't think all of that was just people like me saying, I don't like Abbott.
Well, he was a congressman at one point, so I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, what's the thing he's achieved that was like, oh, thank God he got that done? You know, you can't really think of like, you know, man, this was great when he did that. It's like, I don't know what that is, you know? Or like, if he did become governor, what was he going to do that you were like, I can't wait for him to do this? You know, like with Bernie, I could go like, well, he wants to get rid of Citizens United and corporate money in politics. He wants to try to make education more affordable or free. And it's like, all right, there's two things where it's like, if you do those two things as a president, I can say my vote was worth it, right? But with Beto, it was like, well, I mean...
I think he was talking about the grid.
I don't know.
Grid,
like, I'm sure there's some good things. I just don't know what they were.
Women be able to choose what they want to do.
I mean...
Maybe not have rapists be able to choose their victims.
And that was the biggest thing. It's like, I don't know what he's going to do, but I do know that I like my state to be pro-choice. And if he's probably more likely to keep it that way. And that's why I'm voting like that, right?
That election really was kind of just... shame versus no shame. Like, are you somebody who has shame? You probably voted Beto. Are you somebody with no shame? You probably voted for Greg Abbott.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But it's all, I don't know. I think something's got to happen here soon that shakes up politics so much that it can't be that way anymore.
Yeah, well,
it's got to happen. Like, I don't know if the internet is just going to become like another level of internet where it's really, really hard to lie now. Because now people can be caught lying all the time and people still don't care, right? You can see any politician double back on a statement and people are like, well, it's politics, bitch. That's the game, you know, or I don't know. And something has to happen where that gets flipped on its head and people just get disgusted when they learn that stuff and they're like, I'll never vote for that person again. I really hope we finally get a third party.
Oh, yeah. Andrew Yang, the Ford party. Not right, not left. Ford.
I'd be down, man. Like, my hope would be like a guy like him, Bernie, Tulsi Gabbard, these people who don't feel like...
Honestly, Trump will probably be a third party because he's probably going to split the party when DeSantis gets the nomination, and enough of his loyalists are going to be like, I'm not voting for fucking DeSantis. All my shit says MAGA. Like, you see this fucking tattoo? Like, you think I can just switch teams? Like, I get it. I mean, I really get it.
Yeah.
You know, they can't. Like, it's rooting for a team.
Yeah.
Like, you root for the Cowboys your whole life. If you found out, like, Jerry Jones is just, like, a, you know, treasonous fucking traitor, he's colluding with Russians to, like, try to fix games or whatever, you think you're just going to sell all your Cowboys memorabilia? No.
You're going to double down.
Hell yeah.
And they've proved over and over.
I know firsthand, dude, I love the Astros. They got busted for some cheating scandal.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what it felt like to wear a MAGA hat when I was wearing an Astros hat. But I was like, I don't care. They're millionaires. They cheated their way to success.
Yeah.
I double down. It's Houston versus all y'all. Fuck you.
But that is what politics is, right?
Yeah,
I chose my team.
Yeah, it's exactly it. And you're loyal to it. And you cannot be because you've already put it on the internet that this is your identity. And you'd look like an idiot if you walked it back. I mean, that tattoo of the Dallas Cowboys logo is not going to look good with the Philadelphia Eagles thing try to cover it up. Like you have to stick with that.
I have several coworkers that they'll be like, "Oh, you're a Democrat, right?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "I don't care about either of these sides." It's like whoever's saying something that speaks to me, that's who I'm going to put my vote towards, right? If they happen to be on this party or that party, that's the way I'm going. And that's the way you should go too, right? And I told them all, it's like, look, when Trump won that election, it's like, I was not happy about this. I did not think this was the right guy. But it's like, you still have to correct yourself because, I remember saying, it's like, what if I'm wrong and he comes in here and the country's incredible?
Yeah, ultimately you're rooting for him,
right?
Because
like,
you want the country to do good.
What happens if 6 months in, I'm like, holy shit, he's incredible at this job?
Yeah.
It's like, am I really going to have that much pride to be like, no, I would just say, I thought he was going to fucking suck, but it turns out he knows what he's doing. Now, in my opinion, that didn't happen, but, I still want to be surprised. I don't want to be like, I'm on this team, and I don't care if that team's winning. They'll never be, I'm Ford or I'm Chevy. I don't give a shit. You know, it's like, that's so stupid to think that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very stupid to think that way.
But it goes back to like people needing hobbies, right? Like healthy hobbies. It's like, if politics are your hobby, where you're like, you got to get on this team and all that, you're already kind of fucked, right? Because you're so entrenched in it that it is like a sports team. It's like, go follow a sports team instead and get crazy about sports and make this more pragmatic, But
yeah, and then it's what got me interested in politics initially was I'm from Lake Jackson, and Ron Paul is from Lake Jackson. He actually pulled me from my mother's womb. He was an OBGYN before he was a congressman.
Wow.
And I went to school with his grandson and grew up with them, and just being around that was like, he was the congressman there, and then when I was in college, he ran for president in 2012, and just started reading his books and was like, man, this guy's intellectually consistent. Like, he has been saying the same thing for the last 30 years, and it's like he's got books to prove it. Like, he's unwavering. Yeah. And I just remember respecting that about him. I mean, there was things I obviously disagreed with, but I respected that he was, he had his evidence and he was, unflinching.
It's I just need to know that what you're standing for has, there's a reason you stand for it. It's not just political gain. And you have, I think, as I get older, especially now having a kid, I think you reshape, I don't know, maybe that's just a way to say it, but I think you reshape your view on other people, right? Because you start to realize, everybody started here as this little kid and just grew up into this thing. We never think we're as old as we are, right? You're like, I still feel like I'm 17, Yeah. So you never realize, fuck, I'm an adult now, right? And I have these adult decisions to make. You always feel like you're less than that. And what the fuck? I just lost where I was going with this. It was going to be really good too. But you feel like you can't make these decisions, basically, right? And it's like, no. This is a new responsibility you have now. And if you can find these people that kind of have those core philosophies and have reasons behind them, that's who you want to go with. Because you realize, conservative, liberal, whatever, at the end of the day, there's only a couple things you really want, right? You want to live a happy life without fear of your happiness being taken away. So whatever that is for you, that's what you want. And as long as you can have that happy life that's not at the expense of someone else's happy life, then we're going the right way, right? So it's conservative, liberal, you all just want to grow up with your family, live a long, happy life without any problems.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it's a zero-sum game, though, because they can't win without someone else losing.
That's the problem. Is it's possible for you to win without any. I had a coworker who was upset one time because I was doing more work than a different coworker, not even him, right? I was doing more work than another coworker, and this person was like, "Why are you going to let them get away with that?" And it's like, well, I'm still only doing the work that I was expected to do. They're just doing less than me, right? And it's like, but me doing my job, being happy with what I'm doing, I'm not bothered by this. What they're doing doesn't affect me at all. Right. It's going to affect them if they get fired, but it's not going to affect me that they're being lazy, right? So it's it's not affecting me. What do I care about that? But he couldn't let it go. He's like, no, man, that's not right. We need to do something. And
it's Like
it's like
why
sometimes,
are you getting
but
offended on my behalf?
yeah, it's like
What do you-
in
what
this
is it?
situation, I'm pretty comfortable just letting that go.
Right.
I don't care, you know, and it's like, you know, hearing that somebody else had something really great happen to them gets people upset a lot, right? Like Ralph Barbosa, for instance, he's having some success right now, and you know there are comics who are like, he doesn't fucking deserve that, right? Like there's going to be a few who feel like, fuck that guy. It's like, look, his success doesn't mean you don't get to have success.
Right. I mean,
Like,
it's not a pie. Like
exactly. It's like you still have plenty of opportunity to go do
Right.
something great. You know, that's just good for him. Like,
yeah, and he's put in the work too. Like,
Yeah.
he's very deserving.
yeah. And so that's the hard part is it's always a game, right? Like if I'm making a lot of money and I'm totally happy, and then I find out you're making a little bit more money than me, now all of a sudden I'm a little less happy. But beforehand I was totally happy with all that money I was making. And it's, you know, that's what people can't get over, I think.
Yeah, it's
If they would all just think like me and listen to me, we'd fix it all.
I've
Right?
felt that same
Can we just
way,
do
yeah.
that?
I feel that same way.
All right, man. What do you want people to know about this not comedy special?
You know, it's out on YouTube, An Evening at the Improv. I think a lot of it is what I named it too, I think helped too. Mm-hmm. An Evening at the Improv. And the guy that started the Improv, Bud Friedman, he just died like last week.
Yeah.
And he started An Evening at the Improv. So I think a lot of people have looked up An Evening at the Improv. And mine's actually like one of the first one that comes up. It's like got more views than like Jerry Seinfeld's and like George Lopez's and shit.
Dude, isn't it great how stuff like that just works?
I know. So that's out. And you know, got some other things in the works.
I'm excited. I was feeling nostalgic when I was listening to this one, or watching it rather, because Rebel Without Applause was recorded in such a different way.
Oh yeah.
Did you literally just set a phone down for that? I can't remember.
No,
How was that recorded?
That it wasn't as professional as
No.
It was very punk rock.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
very,
I remember it being much more DIY because there was like, the only reason I thought it was a phone is because there's parts where like something gets bumped.
I had a lavalier mic.
That
on,
must be what it
actually,
was, yeah. Where something cuts out for like half a second, you know.
Yeah.
And it, you know, a little static here and there, and it's because that was a backdoor.
Yeah.
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 And
2019.
But it's so fun to see, you know, the two different versions of this, right?
Yeah.
Because like the Addison Improv, it was at the Addison Improv, right?
It was.
The Addison Improv it's not a better or worse club, but the way that's recorded at Addison is kind of how it is versus Backdoor, right? Like Backdoor feels like a more DIY punk rock club.
Exactly, yeah.
And the Improv feels like a more corporate established club, which they are. Right?
Yeah.
And so
I didn't even think about that.
it's kind of fun, right? To think,
yeah.
you really did capture, unintentionally, you captured how both those clubs feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go back and listen to Rebel Without Applause, it's like, yeah, that's what Backdoor Comedy Club feels like.
I'm in the process of taking the audio out, and I want to like turn it into like a, you know, EP or something and put it out there
For the new one?
Yeah, for the new one.
That should be easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a fun process recording the last one, just doing all the stuff afterwards. You know, like picking the track title names.
Yeah.
You know, getting the album artwork, picking what I wanted to be on the CD. Like, you know, put like a labyrinth on the CD, and
Yeah.
it was really really cool to be able to do that. I don't think I'll do like physical copies for this one.
No.
I'll probably just do.
I mean, unless you get people asking for it, I wouldn't, just because I don't know who uses them anymore.
I would hand them out at shows and be like, whoever, when the album first came out, I would bring physical copies to shows and be like, whoever laughs the hardest is going to get a free album, a free coaster that plays comedy also.
Yeah.
And so I was just, you know, just having fun, just handing them out. And
I think now the play is vinyl. It's just too expensive.
it's so expensive.
That's the rough part of it.
Oh yeah, you produced that Brave Little Hell.
Oh yeah, you guys were at the show. Yeah. Dude, I'm trying to get a second one going now that the pandemic's passed.
Right on.
The problem was, you know, you got to rent that space, and there's a lot of money you put into it that you can't get back if there was another wave of COVID.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta wait till I know this is done.
The only reason I want to get it on physical copy is because that's what you have to send in for Sirius and XM to get it played there.
Okay.
Yeah. You have
Really?
To
They don't take you can't just send them an MP3?
not as recently as 2019. Maybe that's changed,
Yeah.
but like in 2019, you had to have a physical copy. So I got it on Pandora. I got my own like Pandora channel, which is pretty cool because every now and then
I bet that's like
I'll get some stuff sent to my PayPal.
I bet that's some kind of copyright thing. Maybe something about having a physical copy of it makes it legally
But
acceptable.
even whenever you do it online, like I did all my stuff through CD Baby, and it's still published. It's like once it's online, it's copyrighted, it's published. Like you could do like an Instagram stories and pull up like stuff from the album.
Yeah, that's true because they're distributing everything, right?
Yeah, they go through Spotify. They send it out through Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Amazon, the whole gamut.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to, but it's I know it would just be a lot of money for just a passion project, basically.
I've thought about creating compilation vinyls.
Like a mixtape?
Yeah, but of comedy.
Oh, okay.
As a way to like kind of group fund, each of you guys having some cool merch without having to, have all the cost on you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I haven't thought exactly how it would work, but there seems to be a lot of people recording stuff right now, right? It's so much easier to do that. That seems like it could be a fun way. It makes me think of, like Hellcat Records back in the day would put out, you used to be able to just get like a free CD that had, 20 bands on it that were all on the label, one song each. And that was the thing to entice you to go buy the full album. So that's kind of where my mind was at with it. It's like, well, everybody needs merch, but it's hard to create merch. It's all so expensive that could be a fun way to do it where it's like, everybody just pitches in this small amount, gets it made, and then you all sell it for whatever you want to and make your investment back. So maybe you're only putting in, hundreds of dollars instead of the thousands it would take to print up the vinyl.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing the price difference when they were like, do you want to do a CD or do you want to do a vinyl?
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? Like,
yeah,
it's unreal.
It's unreal. And now vinyl's coming back so strong that I think a lot of them have like a 6-month waiting list to even get it pressed.
Yeah, I believe
which is
that.
great. Like it's really cool that it's coming back. But
yeah, I just opened up that Brave Little Hell album. The other day, 'cause we just bought a new album at that Corey Wong show. We bought his Paisley Park Sessions album, and then we were putting it in and just going through.
Yeah,
and opened it up, and I didn't even realize Niaz Shahbazi has a credit. On that album.
Dude,
I was like,
so Nathan that used to do the show with me,
right?
He's good friends with Niaz.
Okay,
they go way back. And so before I did any of this, I met Niaz multiple times just through Nathan, like when we would hang out. And he was like an assistant sound engineer for that whole thing. He was like helped setting up microphones and run cables and all that. And then I just heard a few months ago that he started comedy.
Yeah, I think I was kind of responsible for that.
Awesome. Well, he's
my neighbor. He like lives. He's kind of like our Kramer. Like he just lives under me, and he's just he's kind of the mayor of like downtown Plano too. Like everybody knows him at all the places.
I see him maybe once every 2 to 3 years. It's that kind of thing where like we know each other, but we're not really close.
Yeah, he's running a great bar show. In downtown Plano. Best bar show in the city. Dude.
Well, when I saw he was doing comedy, I told him, I was like, let me know when you have shows coming up, because I think at this point he is kind of just an open micer, right?
Yeah, he's only a few months in.
Yeah, and so he's like, I don't think I'm ready to like perform, I guess, for people he knows yet or something. He's like, but I'll let you know when I have like a show. I was like, okay, sure. But I was very excited. He's always been a guy who's been interested in this. He's a funny guy when you're chatting with him. So it's definitely in his lane. That makes sense. And he's charismatic. Like I know he can hold an audience. He just needs to get his material right.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's exciting.
It's paying dividends because like the bar, I mean, that was the biggest night that they've had. The
Really?
bar that he did it at, I mean, we live like right above it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this place is not going to last, 6 months.
Yeah.
But those monthly shows, I mean, they draw. And
is it in like downtown Plano?
Yeah,
like off
right
15th
there.
Street?
Yeah,
That
right
area?
there. Yeah, right there.
What's the bar?
McNeil's Tavern. McNeil's. It's like right next to this tattoo shop by 1418 Coffee.
Yeah.
Right there, right across from that barbecue place.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
There's a lot used to be over there.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, people show up for comedy. Like it's a bar show. It's like a bar in one room, and then the other side, it's just kind of like a hall.
And Plano needs that. Like the separation that we get with the suburbs out here. Like people in Plano don't want to come to Dallas for comedy. You know what I mean? If they can find it locally, they'll do it. And I know Hyenas had a club there for a minute, and that closed in the pandemic. So there's a gap. There's a vacuum now that can be filled.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I think the only other thing that happens out there is Wes Corwin, and is it?
I don't think Wes lives here anymore.
No, but they were doing the Plano Comedy Festival. Right?
Oh, they still do. That just happened a couple weeks ago.
So that's really the only other
I think
comedy.
that shifted more towards like Legacy, like
probably because the new
West
club that opened up.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But yeah, there's effectively 10 clubs in the city, so there's no I mean, we have a really great scene here. you
Yeah,
know?
we do, but Texas is weird in the sense that like people like to stay in their town. You know what I mean? Lots of people will travel out, but there's a whole group of people that really don't want to leave Plano if they don't have to, right?
I get it.
They don't want to leave Richardson. They don't want to, you know, like even Pazvar, he does those shows up in Salina. People in Salina are not coming down to Dallas for a comedy show unless it's somebody huge, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's all this room. I think DFW is going to have a lot more than 10 clubs before we realize it, and it's not going to feel like, oh, we got too many clubs.
Yeah, the pandemic was really just a catalyst for the, you know, Texas comedy in general, just kind of being recognized as a formidable, you know, because I mean the coasts were both shut down.
Yeah.
So like they weren't getting reps, so you know, all spotlight kind of shifted towards Texas. I mean, I only took maybe 2 months off of comedy when COVID first happened, and then we were back at the club. It was like 50% capacity or whatever, but you know, so and then all these big names starting to move and. A lot of them moving to Austin, so
and Austin, I don't like going to Austin.
Oh, I hate it.
But it goes back to the whole thing. It's like just because the Austin comedy scene is going to be doing well, that doesn't mean it's going to be bad for us. I think the better Austin comedy scene does, the better the DFW scene will do.
And Austin's got a great scene.
Yeah,
Houston's got a great scene too.
Yeah,
and
you don't hear much about like Houston or San Antonio, so they definitely.
Like Houston only has like 2 clubs, so there's a great alt scene there. Like people show up to bar shows for comedy. Like the Riot at Rudyard's is such a well-run show. I've never had a bad show there.
Well, I've had Grady Pruitt on here a couple times.
Oh yeah, I love.
And
Grady.
so he was trying to explain how it works down there a little bit, and it blows my mind that Houston is as big as it is and only has essentially 2 clubs.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so it's like whoever's got money needs to get down there and start opening some up because the need is there, and they have so many comics coming out of Houston.
Yeah,
you know, so they could definitely have more happening down there.
Yeah, but I mean, just anytime I go somewhere else for comedy, I always come back with a new level of respect for the level of writing, performing happening here. I mean, we really have a really, really great scene.
I think that's what's good about having so many clubs, right? Is now you've got people, like a healthy level of competition, right? Now you've got people who are like, I want to perform at these places, and that's the only way you can is to be good, right? And so you
you suck the right dick, you can get on.
Well, that's the only way you want to brag about, you know, getting all these shows anyway. But like, you know, we have the opportunity for comics here to go up a lot and really hone their craft with different types of crowds too, right? Because we have smaller clubs, larger clubs, demographics like just from Dallas to Fort Worth change so much that you've got to be funny, you know, and you can get there here.
Yeah, and the city's only getting bigger. I mean, they said there's going to be like another 5 million people here within the next like 10 years or something.
I know. I used to see all these apartments going up thinking like, there's no fucking way they're filling these apartments up. And they just fill them up. And you're just like, oh my God. They're like, actually, we don't have enough apartments. We need even more. Can you build them faster? Yeah. So I have a lot of high hopes for where our comedy scene's going to go here. I think it's just getting better and better. I was talking to Emily Griefer on the previous episode about how fun it's been to watch people grow just over the last 3 or 4 years, right? Like a whole lot of people in this kind of, I guess you'd call it like this class of comics, like this year's, whatever you would describe it as, but like the people you've been doing comedy with for the last couple of years. A lot of people are getting success in very different ways, and it's really exciting to watch it, you know?
Yeah.
To watch it grow. And then now there's like a whole new group coming up behind y'all where it's like, ooh, who are these new people too? And it's like, it just feels like this teeming, thriving scene. And that I love it, you know, because right when I think I've got it figured out, I see like a newcomer or somebody who I do know starts a new angle on something, and you're like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. Let's see where that goes. Yeah. It's definitely never boring. I'm in this really fun spot where I have to decide like, what show am I going to go watch? I can't make it to both of these, you know, where am I going? Right. And now I can only go with a wife and a kid. It's like, you can only go to maybe 1 or 2 a week. So it's like, I have to really be selective now, and it sucks. But then at the same time, you're like, how great is it that I have to be selective to which fun show I'm going to? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's the scene's in good hands because there are some younger people coming up that are really, really funny. I'm thinking of, you know, Brian Kim is. And Brian Kim to me is like such a funny
Kim
voice.
or Ken?
Brian Kim.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I know. I'll have to.
He
I'll
works
check
at the
him out.
Improv. He's like a server at the Improv.
Maybe if I see his picture, you'll have to show it after this. But dude, you're playing a small part in that too. 13,000 views on your Not a Special special.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting a lot of love on
Dude,
YouTube
it's
too.
getting
A lot
love.
of people really seem to appreciate it. I mean, I got some nice comments. People are like, "I've always waited for a special like this."
I threw a comment on there. I'm not gonna lie.
I appreciate that. I appreciate.
I hit
that.
a like, dude, trying to get the algorithm going for you.
I know. I can't figure it out. Now my new thing is I'm going to try to use some clips from that
Yeah.
and try to
Dude, just throw them out as reels.
Instagram.
Let them do their
Dude,
thing.
I was so late to the party on reels, dude. I didn't do my first reel until like 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty late. Yeah.
And it was like Kirsty Hayden was like, or Griefer was like, why aren't you
Yeah.
doing real? That's what you got to do. Like it's so much better. I was just posting it as videos.
No.
And
don't do that.
Yeah,
Listen, you need to ask people before you do this, okay? We got to set you
I know.
up.
I'm gonna have to go like take down all my old videos and
Oh, yeah. Leave all the
repost
ones
them.
up there and then just repost them as reels anyway. It doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because nobody's going to your page and looking down it like that. They're all just being fed stuff constantly. So
Yeah.
just put it in there as part of the machine. They'll get it to the people.
I was so late to the social media party. Anyway, I didn't get a social media till like 2018.
It's not a fun party, if we're being
No.
honest. It's not a fun party. It's
No,
the
I
company party that we have to go to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
'cause
it's okay.
But the focus on was just trying to get good at comedy
Yeah.
before I wanted to like feel like I had something to promote. Like,
Yeah.
so my first 3 years, I was just only focused on
Yeah, and if you feel that
trying to
way,
be good.
think about all these veteran comics in the scene that you know are fucking hilarious, who never needed social media to get all the work they got, right? And
Right.
now they've got to do social media also.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
That's on a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a couple of those. I almost said a couple of those old timers. They're not old
Who
timers.
who's your white whale?
I don't want to say yet. I'll tell you off the mic. I'll tell you off the mic.
Right on.
But no, I mean, Paul Varghese has been on here. We go back a little bit. Like I'm a friend with one of his relatives, so we were friends before I ever started this. So he's always good to chat with because he's got just a ton of insight because he's been doing it so long, and he's so open when he talks. You know, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I don't know this, I didn't know that, or whatever." But there's a whole list of people from like his, I guess, era of DFW comedy that I think are just phenomenal, but they're not getting a lot of the local credit anymore, you know, because there's just new waves of people coming in all the time, but they're still just as funny,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I know. I feel it. I see it at Backdoor because the pandemic really separated, which old timers felt like they wanted to keep coming out. And so a lot of them stopped.
Yeah.
And then you saw this whole new roster basically develop at Backdoor. Like when I was working at Backdoor when I first started, I was like the youngest there probably by about 10 years, like the in terms of like the next youngest comic. And now, even though like I'm a little older, like, I'm still, I would say, one of the oldest on the roster now.
Wow.
I feel like there's just all these like newer guys. There's more people like in their 30s now. Whereas pre-pandemic, there was, more 40 and 50-year-olds going to
Interesting.
Backdoor on the weekends.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the little club that could for me. Like, I love that spot. Every time I've gone there, it's always been a good show.
Yeah.
Multiple locations, and it's always been funny. So.
Yeah. And this location is,
Dude, I think this is
so-
the spot.
yeah, for
I
sure.
mean,
It's the room's so much more conducive for comedy, lower ceilings. It's there's not this corporate art on the wall.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool spot. It's a nice home club. It's
the
cool.
last location was definitely horrible, but I still loved going there.
Yeah, for sure. That's where I
loved it.
started. My first open mic ever was there.
Yeah.
So that
I didn't
will
realize how
always be-
horrible it was until they moved.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, this is way better. Way
And I
better.
think they feel like they made a huge mistake too. I still talk
Moving to
the bartender-
Richardson?
No, the hotel.
The
for
DoubleTree?
not- Yeah, for not.
Yeah.
Because it's like even on its worst night, the club's only bringing you in money,
Yeah.
like from alcohol sales. So
Sure.
even if, like there's 10 people there, 5 people there,
And you're
if the
already
club's
open.
not the- yeah,
You're
exactly.
already open. Yeah.
Yeah, so
what
they-
they should have done is they should have invested a little bit of money into that club as the hotel, right? To make it a fucking spot.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, they should have helped them with the decor, with some of the sound treatment, and then maybe like a little bit better signage or something, right? And
they screwed Linda on the sign
they
too.
fucked her, man. It was like this little tiny sign that you could only see in the parking lot.
And they
right?
trashed it whenever they didn't renew their lease. Linda was like, yeah, she was gonna go pick it up that day, and like
That's
she like
horrible.
showed them. It was like, where is it? And they're like,
And
yeah,
she's such a
we took
nice
it down.
person.
She was really let down.
Yeah, but like that could have been, they had a lot of parking there. It's easy to get to. It's already at a hotel, so if you could come in from out of town to watch someone there,
Exactly.
and crash at the fucking hotel.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect setup.
Yeah.
So the fact that they couldn't see, like, hey, we could invest some money into this club and make it really great.
Yeah, they decided to put some virtual golf thing there instead.
I'm sure that's
and
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I still talk to the bartender there. He's like,
Yeah.
we made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
This
Well.
is.
Well, I think the new location's better anyway. They'll be happy. The DoubleTree's going to be fine. They're going to be okay.
I think, Hilton will survive.
Yeah, they'll be okay. Can we get Paris on the phone? Can we talk to Paris?
Yeah.
All right, man. Where do you want people to find you on social media, all that fun stuff, since you're so terrible at it?
I'm getting better. I only have Instagram at Vinnie and the Jokes.
Vinny and the Jokes.
And I got to put my dates up there. I got a show at the Texas Theater coming up. It's gonna be
shit.
pretty- yeah.
When is that?
December 2nd. I don't know when this comes out.
I don't think this is going to be out before that.
Well-
Who's that with?
It's a storytelling show, actually.
That's right. You talked about that a little bit.
So I'm close. I did a story with him. This guy runs a great storytelling show in the Bishop Arts at Wild Detectives.
Okay.
Like once a month, and he packs the place out. I mean, he had to turn people away. There's like 250 people up there. We're out there on the patio, in the backyard, and he just runs a great show. I think he alternates. So one month it'll be at Wild Detectives, the next month's at Texas Theater. So I did it a couple months ago, and I think I closed it out if for no other reason than I was the only person who'd picked up a microphone before. So like I'm on the show with people that they're not comedians, they're like storytellers. So it was already a different kind of environment for me and a different writing exercise. Yeah, it's not really my style of performing is like a story. Like
How much time do they give you to tell your story in?
I did about a 20-minute story.
Wow, that's interesting. I used to listen to those a lot, like just on the radio. Like NPR would, I don't remember which day of the week it was, but they'd have somebody who put on shows like that, but they'd have it on the radio as well. So you're driving in your car just listening to whatever story about the theme that they chose, and it was great. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to come out to that one. What day is
December 2nd. I think it's a Friday.
Friday.
But yeah, it
is a Friday.
That's gonna be a good show. McNeil's Tavern. That's a fun one. I think maybe we got Corpus Christi coming up here pretty soon. But
I still put you in my notes as TV, by the way.
oh, that's totally. I'm never gonna tell people not to say it. I just got. It was a combination of always kind of feeling. I was only ever TV at a club, so like on stage, so even just introducing myself as TV was always kind of weird, and it is just my initials ultimately.
Yeah.
But for people that always knew me as TV, like I'm never gonna say. I understand like what trans people kind of feel like now, where they like change their name and stuff, So
Yeah.
some people like were quick to like be like, oh, that's Vinny now, or some people are still like TV. It's like I'm not gonna.
I'll get on board.
care.
I'll get on board with Vinny, but in my notes it'll still be TV.
I don't care. I'm never gonna correct you.
Well, dude, thanks as always for coming on. I'm so happy to see how everything's kind of been growing and improving. So excited to see where it'll be, here in the future.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.